Hey everyone, it is Jonathan from WebWorld, and today I'm taking a look at the Transformers 1 Studio Series Megatron figure. So unfortunately, as far as first impressions go, underwhelming is definitely my first thoughts in regards to this figure. While the scale, joints, proportions, overall design do look great, as far as a comparison to the character as portrayed in the Transformers 1 film, this figure does fall pretty short in my opinion. As well as there's a lot of minor things that simply just keep adding up from keeping this figure being truly great. So moving on, I will go ahead and compare the Megatron figure to his on-screen counterpart, and the biggest, most standout piece is that this figure is somewhere caught between Megatron at the end of Transformers 1 and D16 throughout the majority of the film. So moving on to bot mode, the first thing that I want to point out is if you told me this was just a standard or basic concept Megatron type figure, that would be great. However, this being Megatron from Transformers 1, that's where a lot of the flaws of this figure come into play. So the first thing that I want to point out in regards to this figure is the bland gray coloring of the plastic. Now, normally gray plastic isn't something that I would complain about. However, the backpack, or at least I'm going to refer to it as a backpack, is this very nice metallic silver-like color. This color really matches what the character looks like in the Transformers 1 film, and overall should be the color for this figure in general. One, it would look a lot better, and two, the fact that it's only this backpack just really makes the bland gray stick out. The second thing that stands out is, in fact, his hands. You can see the outside of his hands are the treads for tank mode, which, again, with all Transformers figures, there is a give and take somewhere between the two modes. However, this really stands out to me. And while it is something small and in the grand scheme of things, I would normally say insignificant, that is, in fact, my problem with this figure overall. As unfortunately, the nitpicks and complaints are going to keep on coming here. The transformation process is not terrible. It's pretty straightforward and not too complicated. The biggest difficulty with the transformation, as you'll see here that I had some trouble with, is getting the pegs in the right spot for the treads. Those slot in on his feet just in the right spot, and it is pretty tight, which is good. It does keep it into place, but that can make it a bit tricky as far as the transformation goes. So this brings us to alt mode. Now, alt mode is a standard tank, as most modern iterations of Megatron are. This, however, is not a complaint by any means, just a simple statement of fact. The design of the tank mode in the Transformers 1 film is pretty great, however, this does not translate well into figure form. Overall, alt mode just looks a little awkward in general. I don't know if it is just the fact that this is due to the sizing of the deluxe figure and not being able to get the engineering quite right to get the details of alt mode looking better than it does. The other thing to note about alt mode is, again, the silver backpack sticks out very much so in regards to the bland gray plastic, which I've already discussed. The other thing to note, and it's a bit hard to see, and most likely you're not really ever going to see this, if you lift the backpack up, or in alt mode, the cannon, Megatron's face is just there. There's nothing really covering it, and if you move the cannon around to angle it or pose it, that is pretty visible for the most part. The other thing that's a bit awkward with alt mode is the peg holes for the two blaster accessories. I'll talk about the accessories specifically later, but those peg holes really stand out if you're not using those accessories. And as far as the design of alt mode goes, those accessories or additional blasters aren't part of the mode in the movie, which again is what I'm basing all of these comparisons on. So if you want for as close to accurate to the movie as you can get, you don't want to use those blasters, which means you've got these unsightly peg holes just sitting around. So that brings me to his accessories, which are all the blaster cannon related items. Now, of course, he does come with the standard arm cannon, as Megatron does. However, this is another flaw of the figure in my opinion. Now, while this cannon does match D16, this is not the same cannon that was at the end of the film when he became Megatron. I really wish they would have included both. Again, this is the Megatron version of the figure, so I wish it would have had the triple barrel cannon as at least an option. I kind of know why they just settled with the the standard Megatron look, if you will. But that is a bit disappointing for this figure, in my opinion. The two smaller blasters can also fit in his hand, or they can just peg in his backpack. The smaller cannon pegs into the forearm, covers one of those unsightly holes, and does quite match the smaller version of the cannon that we see in the film. So unfortunately, this figure is a pretty big letdown. I was really excited for it, and it actually took quite a bit of time for me to get my hands on it, and now that I finally have it, it's a bit of a regretful purchase. There are simply one too many flaws that add up and keep this figure from being great. As much as I loved the Transformers 1 film, as well as wanting to pair this figure with the Studio Series Optimus Prime, it still doesn't justify the purchase in my opinion. Even though the two figures do look pretty decent together, it's not enough of a justification. If you're a diehard Transformers fan, as well as a huge fan of the Transformers 1 film, and you want to add this to your Studio Series collection for the figures of that film, then great, go for it, and then you can say you've got a complete set. And at this point, that's all this figure is really doing for me. Otherwise, I honestly say I would not recommend this figure. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on this figure. Also, if you've enjoyed what's been going on here at Web World, please like, subscribe, all that stuff. Thanks again for watching, and until next time.